The image behind me, those alluring eyes behind me, belong to a cult classic film, American Vampire. Now, American Vampire had many illustrious things going for it. It was the first screen appearance of Carmen Electra, and it starred the great Adam West, and it became a cult classic. We wanted to get some graveyard dirt on American Vampire. So who do we speak with? But Rollin Jewett, the American Vampire's screenwriter. Rollin, it is great to see you again. How are you?
I'm doing great, Jay. It's always great to see you.
Last time we chatted, it was at Phoenix FearCon last October, and you regaled me in your macabre works at that point. At that point, I knew you as this amazing playwright as we worked together off Broadway on a couple of occasions, and you're a prolific songwriter. As lately, like I mentioned to you, I can't open up Facebook without seeing you get some sort of music award.
Well, Jay, I try to dabble in a lot of different things, and you put enough stuff out there, you're liable to get something back. So I'm always working on something different, working on my music, working on scripts, working on plays. And American Vampire was the first movie that I ever got made. So I owe a lot to that movie.
Okay, so let's talk about that. How did you come to American Vampire? What happened?
Well, these things take on lives of their own. I was living in South Florida at the time and working on a situation comedy with two buddies of mine that we produced. And it was kind of like a Friends. It was three actors in New York City living in an apartment, forced to live there for different reasons. And we produced this thing down in South Florida, and it went very well. And then we decided to write a script together, and that went well. It didn't get made, still hoping someday, this is 25 years now. But we got along very well. My two friends moved out to Los Angeles, and one of them moved into this house. It was like a mansion. And the guy that owned the house was a boom operator and very successful. And he had all these people that were living in the house. He had gaffers, he had electrical guys, sound guys, everybody that was part of his business lived in the house. There were a few actors there. I mean, this place was sprawling. So one of my friends who moved out there, he called me up and he said, "Hey, I've got this opportunity. I've got this big house. I've got equipment. I've got crew. I've got actors. All I need is a script. Let's do something in this house." And I was thinking to myself, well, this is a good opportunity, because we could do this thing for practically free. So I tried to think of something, and I called upon my old acting thoughts from back when I was an actor in Tallahassee at Florida State. And I thought of this play that I had done where this everyman type character invites in these arsonists come knocking at his door, and they're going to burn his house down for whatever reason. They're hired by somebody to burn his house down. Well, he invites them in. He is in denial the whole time. He feasts these people, offers them living quarters, all kinds of stuff, all in the hopes that they won't burn his house down. Of course, in the end, they burn his house down. So he's in denial the entire time. And I thought, well, that could lend itself to something, just that idea. So I was thinking, okay, so what could come into this guy's house? So I thought vampires, right? He meets these vampires and as an exchange student in Transylvania, 10 years ago, and says on a lark, "Hey, why don't you come on over? If you're ever in California, come and hang out with me." So the vampires come and they basically infiltrate his house. He's a lonely, nerdy, kind of nebbish guy without too many friends. He's got a girlfriend that he hasn't even kissed, 6 months. So he's lonely. He invites these guys in and they basically take over his house. I thought, well, this is kind of an interesting idea. Let's work with that. So I wrote the script in 5 days. I was a caffeinated mess all the way through, just pushing through, because we had about a month window to do this. I send the script out there. They love the script. I go out there, we film a music video. Somehow one of my friends, Victor, is in touch with Mark Lindsay from Paul Revere and the Raiders. And he asks him, hey, do you want to be part of this? We're gonna film this thing. Would you like to play the character? So he wants to play the Van Helsing character, the guy that comes in and eradicates the vampires from the house. So he rewrites one of his songs called Man on a Mission, and we film him in a music video. And I play the sort of the nerdy, nebbish character, who's like 30 years old, lonely guy in the house. My two buddies play, one plays the Renfield character, the other guy plays the vampire. And we do this music video as a promotion for the movie. So we finish it, we edit it, we get it out there, we send it out, nobody's interested. So I'm like, oh man, why don't people want to do this, So one day I'm sitting in the Lava Lounge on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood somewhere, and the Blue Hawaiians are playing. They're my favorite band, a surf band. And I'm looking around and there's all this Hawaiian type stuff going on. And I'm like, wait a minute, what about surfing and vampires, like the beach and vampires? And what if I made it a throwback to, the beach party movies of the 60s, and I named the characters Frankie and Dee Dee and try to get Frankie Avalon to play a character and stuff, thinking low budget, And so I decided to rewrite the script with a teenager in my role, kind of a nerdy teenager. And, he's sort of a Home Alone meets the Lost Boys. He and his buddy go to the beach one day. They meet up with some surfers at night, and they turn out to be vampires. He inadvertently asks them, hey, come on, let's go back to my house and party. The vampires move in. And so I wrote it like that. I just changed up some characters and put a few different settings and stuff, and changed the demographic, sent it out to some people, and the experience was much different. People really responded to that idea. So that's how I kind of wrote American Vampire. It was originally called Vampire Beach Party.
I like American Vampire better, but no offense. Okay, so I don't know how many trade secrets you can give, but when I asked you at FearCon all about it, I remember you had told me from that script that you had written to the movie with Adam West was some changes.
Well, yeah, okay. So as anybody knows in the movie business, as a screenwriter, you're pretty much the lowest man on the totem pole. And once you sell the rights to a script, you really don't have much of a say on the set. So I had sold the script to this gentleman, a first-time producer, and he got a director involved that was a first-time director. He had had some experience as a crew and as I think a DP on some things. And he was all gung-ho to do this thing. And he wanted to rewrite the script though, because he wanted to make it into sort of, more of an A movie. I had written it sort of as a B movie. It had some nudity. It had a little bit of risque jokes. So there was some beer drinking, some pot smoking. They wanted to get rid of that. They wanted to make it sort of a PG film. And I was against that because I don't think you do vampires, unless you're really hitting that younger demographic, if that's what you're going for. That's not what I had written. So I begged them, please do not make these changes. It's not going to be funny. It's not going to be scary. It's not going to be entertaining, and they just ignored me. And I bothered them so much that they actually barred me from the set.
Oh, no.
They said, you can't come on the set anymore. So I was a little bit unhappy about that. But I got an opportunity to get back on set because my friend Victor, who was the DP on this and also an associate producer, he asked me to go get some lighting equipment thing that nobody could leave the set and go get. And so he calls me up at my home and says, hey, can you pick up this lighting gadget? And I'm like, okay. I thought they didn't want me on the set. He said, this is your opportunity to get back on the set. Do us this favor and they'll probably let you stay. So I picked up the lighting thing, went back on the set, brought them that, and I hung around for the rest of the shooting, and I kept my mouth shut, even though I was seeing some things. I was seeing some good things too. So it's not all just, negative. Some of the stuff the director was doing was very good. But I just don't think that it was really as compelling as it could have been in the end. But it was great to be on the set. Carmen Electra, Adam West, be able to hang out with him for a couple of days, hold his cue cards, and to hear his voice in person, reading my lines. And, Sidney Lassick from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest creates this Renfield character that's just completely cuckoo. And he's improvising and doing better stuff than I wrote. And it was just a fantastic experience all over. And I'm just glad that I was able to get back on there, to experience it.
Ironically, as much as it was difficult for you, you really lived the Hollywood experience. You wrote it, you had to do a million things to get it up there. And then once it's there, you had to do battle. And then finally you had what is now a cult classic. So you finally won in the sense that you got your movie made and it was well received.
Well, when I see it today, I have much better feelings about it. And there's certain scenes in it that still tickle me because they're exactly as I wrote them. And then there are other scenes where it's like, oh, I wish they had kept this, or I wish they had done this like I had written. But those scenes that are left intact, like the Adam West scene is word for word what I wrote. That's the best scene in the movie. And then there are other scenes where, I'm just like, yeah, they nailed that one. Didn't nail this one or this one or this one, but they nailed this one, so it's kind of mixed feelings, it's bittersweet.
Sure.
That's the movie making process, right?
And it stands the test of time. It's still out there.
And Dick Dale, who was the king of surf guitar, he did a performance on the beach in that movie. And he did the opening Miserlou from Pulp Fiction, that down, 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 down. He was on the beach and he's in my movie. And I'm like, my God, Dick Dale, the king of surf guitar, is in a film that I wrote. So moments like that, you just can't buy those moments, they're just priceless.
Now you're no slouch when it comes to the macabre genre. You have written a lot of work. Tell us about your writings in terms of macabre works. I know you've been published, I don't know how many times, about as many as music awards as you got, for that matter. Tell us about your macabre writings.
Okay. Horror is something that I've always loved to write. I grew up on Twilight Zone. I grew up on Night Gallery. I grew up on Famous Monsters of Filmland, which American Vampire, here, I have to hold up this magazine because American Vampire is inside this. And that was another thrill, to have grown up on this magazine and then to have Adam West listed in there with your movie, with a picture from your movie, was a thrill. But yeah, I had grown up on these DC comic books, House of Mystery, and I read a lot of Edgar Allan Poe as a young man, and I just had an active imagination, and I wanted to write. I wanted to see if I could do what Rod Serling was doing, what H.P. Lovecraft was doing, what Edgar Allan Poe was doing. Just write mysteries that are going to surprise you, entertain you, make you think. And I started writing at a young age, 14, 15 years old, and I just kept at it, and I kept getting affirmations. I wrote a lot of stuff in high school and college creative writing classes, and my teachers were very, very encouraging. And that's what keeps you going, is when you put something out there and somebody appreciates it, they like it, they tell you that you have a talent for it. So it's just one of those things that I've always liked doing, and people, when they respond to it, just makes me really happy. So,
well, then you are happy a lot. If you were rolling dice in Las Vegas, then someone would think that you're playing with loaded dice, because every time you put out some music, it wins an award. Every time you write a screenplay, look at this, it suddenly becomes a cult classic. And I know you have been published innumerably with some award-winning, brilliant pieces. Where can people find your work if they want to read up on you and read your work? Where do they find it?
Just Google my name, really. You'll come across everything. Rollin Jewett. Put it into Google, and you'll get it. They'll take you to Amazon. Amazon has all my books that I have stories and poetry in. I write macabre poetry as well, and also my music will come up on Deezer, Amazon, Spotify. There's all kinds of different things. Plays, I write plays, as you know, so my plays will come up. It's just Google my name and you'll find everything that I've done practically, for the last 30 years.
There you go.
And also rollinjewett.com, which is a work in progress. It's not the best website at this moment. I need to update it quite a bit, but it's constantly updating, and it just takes so much time. You probably know that too. You're always adding stuff to it, because if you're prolific, then there's always something new. So
I find so many times someone says something to me and I'll go, oh yes, of course it's on my website. But then in the back of my head, I'm going, I gotta put it on my website now.
Exactly.
It is a pleasure to speak to you. I love your work. Props to you, man. There are people who, dad, granddad, great granddad was in the business, and that's how they got there. But you're a self-made man. You brought all of this. You brought all of this great work from hard work, from dedication, and I really congratulate you on it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And it's to me, it's not work. It's how I play. I love to do it. It's my escape, and it's my way of expressing myself. And everything other than that is work. That is my play. And if it were something that I dreaded doing, I wouldn't do it. But I love creating music. I love creating new works, plays, scripts. I love doing it. I just love the freedom of being able to accomplish something that was in my mind a few minutes ago, and now it's on paper. And then the next step is to get it on screen, or get it on stage, or get it in a bound form for somebody to read. So as long as I can keep doing that, I will keep doing it.
And for those of you who might be in New York in June, a new play by Rollin Jewett will be opening via the Downtown Urban Arts Festival at June. Dates are coming up, and it's called Saki Tells All. And
you will be directing that, Jay.
I'm not sure, but he's brilliant. And it's an ode to the Twilight Zone. I'm just going to leave it at that. My friend, it is always a pleasure to speak to you. Can't wait to see you again at the next event, and more power to you.
Thank you so much for having me, Jay. It's always a pleasure, and I hope to see you in June or sooner. Okay?
That would work for me. Thanks, pal.
Take care, brother.